Yeah, yeah.
On my jewelry, you see it right here. So don't get sidetracked, Jabari. You see it, I still got it. Ain't no hate. I'm just showing love towards both nations, brother. And we're gonna have a real beautiful build. I chose my brother Judah Naz because Judah Naz, when he's serious, he is definitely knowledgeable, educated when it comes to this Bible, and he got some things that a lot of us can learn from. And I know that he's gonna have a good build with our brother, champion, Floyd Mayweather, brother Jabari. Jabari is not looking for a body tonight. Just let me let y'all know, he's not looking for an uppercut or a one-round knockout. We just feeling each other out because who knows? We want to see if y'all would like to see these two brothers really get in the ring and have a powerful build. So without any further ado, I would like to bring on my two brothers right here. Peace and black power, brother Jabari. What's up, man? How you doing? Unmute yourself, brother. Jabari.
Peace. I want to say peace to you. Peace to Judah Natzarah. I just want to say I am always honored when I get to speak to the sa.neter TV Studios Black News 102 family. You should know that I have just basically gotten back from Africa. I got back last Friday evening, and so I'm still processing an amazing journey. And I really am looking forward to a spirited but interesting discussion with our brother. I know he's been looking for it for a while too, because he tried to get on me on Facebook some time ago, and tried to have a debate with me some time ago. And so, you know, we'll see. I think we'll have a conversation. I think there may be some things we agree on. There'll likely be also some things that we don't agree on. And hopefully what we'll be able to do is really elucidate these topics a bit more clearly so that folks are able to truly understand where some of the differences and the similarities are, so they can decide really what makes sense to them. And I really think that should be productive. So peace to Sa, peace to Judah. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Peace and black power. Judah, you can go ahead and open up your opening statement.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Brother sa.neter, Elder sa.neter, for having me on. And peace to you, Brother Jabari. I'm very, very thankful to be on and have this discourse. And I hope this interesting build, and we come to, some kind of matter where we can discuss something maybe further in the future. But thank you very much.
And hopefully we could build off of this first question. Hopefully we can build off of this first question I have for the panel. And the question is, it goes to you, Brother Jabari. The first question I have for you, Jabari, is that was there a Hebrew presence amongst Kemet civilization in ancient history? And if so, what dynasty and era would you say it was?
Well, I think that what most historians say, this is not just what Jabari says, what most historians say is that we really see those people who are probably the proto-Hebrews enter into the discussion, the narrative in Kemet, in the sort of in the Middle Kingdom. And so that's kind of what we're talking about. We certainly, when we talk about the Hebrew people, we're talking about, to be honest, the younger people in the region, probably around, and I'm being generous here, around 2000 BCE, somewhere around there, likely a little bit later. We actually see in one tomb a group of people that are generally called the Hyksos today, the Hekakasut, or the foreign rulers. It's in the tomb of Khnumhotep the second. And so that is where we first begin to see the term that looks like it could be translated or derived into the term Hyksos. And let's be really clear, those people who were the Proto-Hebrews, they had names like Jacob and Jacobam. They actually were welcomed into Kemet. It's believed that they came in during a famine during where they came in, a famine from where they lived, probably the area around Canaan. And shortly after coming in, they became really crude rulers and were expelled by the Kemetic people, by those great Africans of the 17th dynasty. So that's really where we see the Hebrews enter major discussion in the Kemetic narrative. They are, as I said, they are people that come into the historical record a bit later.
All right, Brother Judah, you want to add on that? You agree, you disagree, or you want me to get the question again for you?
No, I heard him. The Hyksos were actually Canaanites, and we were not a Canaanite people. They had moved into our region because we had the land of Shem, and they had moved in. Because there were actually maybe like 13 or 14 quote unquote Canaanite nations, but 7 of them had occupied our land. But he is correct. We did move on down into Egypt. However, we were not rulers in as like a ruling class in Egypt. But maybe a couple of maybe have been important figures in Kemet, but we were not like a ruling class in Kemet.
I think that one of the things that we have to begin to recognize is that the Hebrew people, and I know this is not a popular topic because the biblical narrative is somewhat different, but the Hebrew people were Canaanites. They were Canaanites. I think that, and this is not Jabari Osaze saying this. This is biblical historians that now acknowledge that those people that we can consider the Hebrews or the Jews kind of bubbled up out of a civilization that was extant. And this is one of those things that people struggle with when you mention it to them. One of the chief deities of the Canaanites was El. That was their chief deity. And the name of the people that we consider the Hebrews is Israel, which means El persists. So let's be clear that those people that we consider the Hebrews now were the Canaanites. Now, they do separate themselves from the people that we consider Canaanites. They have some disagreements. It seems like one group of people might have been more people that lived in a valley and the others more on a hill. They slowly developed some differences in terms of culture. One group seems to continue to eat the pig and one group does not. But you should understand that they essentially become a different people, but they are the same people. Genetically, they are the same people. Their origin is in the same place. And so that is the thing that I think that most people will acknowledge now. And I'll tell you that biblical historians now say that the whole narrative around Abram coming from another region, we'll go into that if we see fit a little bit later, that all of that is mythology, that it's not a factual story, that the people who are the Hebrews were Canaanites. And we have to contend with the fact that we even see early Hebrews still worshiping El, still worshiping his consort, Asherah. We still see those things. And so we have to be honest about who the Hebrew people are.
Now, hold on, Jabari, because you said that, are you saying that these Hebrew people that was amongst Kemet, are these real people? Or are you saying that, no, these are not real people that call themselves Hebrews?
No, I'm not saying that there weren't a group of people that called themselves Hebrews in later history. Okay. I am saying that those people who call themselves Hebrews were a group of people that actually, they set themselves apart from those people that were considered Canaanites.
Oh,
that's what happened. But they are the same people. They are the same people.
You agree, brother?
He's not going to do this. But one group slowly became a different group. But to pretend that they came from elsewhere that's not what the historical record or the archaeological record attests to today.
Okay, Judah, you want to speak on that, or?
Yes, Brother Jabari is what they say in manifest error. We are not Canaanites. We actually have come from Sumeria. We were a little small band of nomad. Yes, sir, we were. Yes, we were. See, I deal with linguistics also as well. See, in Sumeria, we spoke. There was like an Ethiopic language, and there was a what they call an Akkadian. From Akkadian, we also got our Aramaic, which later on developed into Yahweh Dayath, which they call the Judean language, or it wasn't called modern Hebrew. We don't have a language called Hebrew. That's a modern term. As well, like I said before, the quote unquote Canaanites were just one nation out of like 13. These were sons of Ham. For instance, you have a modern quote unquote Canaanite people today, which you call the Chinese. They still go by their old Canaanite name of the Canaanites. They still go by their old name today, Sina. If you go to China and you go to their airline, you see it's Sina, which translates to the Sayana people. And they had moved from wherever they were, and they moved far east. And they still use their pictograph linguistic thing today called kanji, where it's like a pictograph type of almost like a hieroglyphic. So the brother is in manifest error. That is absolutely untrue.
We can I speak, Sa?
Yes, go ahead, Jabari.
Yeah, I think that we continually hear people say that the Hebrew people are a different group of people. I mean, that's not a surprising argument that we hear Judah Natzarah saying, and that's because he's really talking about a religious story, a spiritual story. He's not talking about the historical or the archaeological reality.
Oh,
and so that's the challenge that we have. We should recognize that when he says that those people came from Babylon, I'm going to say Babylon here for a second. You have to understand that there is no archaeological evidence of that, and that most biblical scholars today recognize that those things first of all, they're an anachronism. What do I mean anachronism? Most of the story that we hear about these Hebrews as they were in during this period where Abraham comes down from this region that sometimes is called Babylon, most people can acknowledge now that did not happen. And in the biblical narrative, you'll hear him, for example, even using camels. Camels were not in the region during that period. Scholars recognize that is an anachronism. What does that mean? The story is describing something that we know could not have happened based on what we understand was going on at the time. You must understand that when we are referring to those people who are considered the Hebrews today, we are not talking about a different group of people. And that the story that you're hearing around Abraham is actually incorrect. It's a mythological story. And I want to be clear that this is not just my concept. I'm completely willing to furnish some sources, because I think I might have to be the first one to do that. I think that our brother may be comfortable with making a case that he says is linguistic by finding words that sound similar, but biblical historians they're not making the argument you're making. The only people that make the argument that you're making are people of faith. And there's nothing wrong with faith. There's nothing wrong with spirituality. But when you mix them with history and archaeology, you find yourself in trouble. That's the challenge. So let me show you a source. Because I don't want to get to the point where all we're doing is going back and forth and saying things that sound different. I want you to understand. Wait, is my screen flashing there?
Yes, you are right there. They see it.
But I think it's flashing on my end. Let me share it again. What I want to do is I want to make sure that what we're saying is something that biblical scholars say. Okay, this is from Jonathan Tubbs' book Canaanites, right? and Judah, I hope you're listening. I know you stepped away. Listen to this. The Canaanites known to the writers of biblical texts can be seen to be the same people who settled in farming villages in the 8th millennium BC. This is not in any way to deny the reality, nor indeed the importance of external influence on the culture, whether through trade, small trade infiltration, or aggressive invasion. I want you to actually also recognize that he includes many other names here, but let's go further down. The Canaanites spoke a Semitic language. The closest modern relatives would be Syriac and Hebrew. Certainly anyone with knowledge of biblical as opposed to modern Hebrew would have little difficulty communicating with the Canaanite. So now he's beginning to tell you they were really speaking the same language. Language is one of those really important ways that we are able to come to an understanding of who a people are. Come on, I want to go to the next. There we go. In these stories, in the land of Canaan is seen as a promised land in which the Israelites were to settle and against whose populations the Israelites would prevail. As the story unfolds, it will become apparent that the Israelites were themselves Canaanites, and historical as opposed to literary. Israel was, in reality, a subset of Canaanite culture. I want you to be clear that I am not making this argument. Biblical historians are making this argument. And unfortunately, one of the challenges that we see very often on YouTube and with folks who attempt to present themselves as biblical historians is that really what they do is they read the Bible or the Torah and then they work their way backwards. That's not how this is done.
All right.
Archaeological and outside evidence to make your case.
All right, brother Jabari. Hey, Judah, is Jabari right in saying that this right here is like more of a mythological story and you're really not coming with the history, like real true history is like a mythological belief? Go ahead, brother. You can share your screen. You can do whatever you want. Go ahead in.
So I really don't need to share my screen. I was going to show things. Can you we okay? All right. So I'll say here, there's a book here, if you can enlarge my thing, it's called, let's say, Example. Jesus at Qumran, The Secret Initiation of Jesus at Qumran. And this is by an author called Robert Fletcher. These guys are relying on these outside authors, and these guys are using theory and speculation. So you cannot rely on these people because they are in speculation and guesswork. When you start dealing with linguistically, even Kemet itself is also grouped into the Afro-Asiatic linguistic branch. So it is not myth. I'll give an example. We even have a time of our priesthood, the Levites, in the time of Ptolemy VI in Kemet, under a Messiah that we had called Onias III, who was the last high priest of the Zadokites. His son had moved into Kemet under Ptolemy VI and Cleopatra. So this is not that long ago, and they had built a temple in Leontopolis in Egypt. So this is not mythological. We are still a living people. Archaeologists are still digging up the ruins of the temple and what they call Bubastis from the cat goddess of Kemet. And we had built a temple there. We had gotten permission from Ptolemy VI to build a temple in Kemet over the ruins of this old pagan temple in Kemet to erect a smaller version of the Temple of Solomon in Kemet. This is historical fact. So the brother is in manifest error trying to lump up with first off, me also put out, there is no such word as Hebrew. That comes from the Greek word Hebraikos. The word is Abarion, people that crossed over. So there is no such word as Hebrew. That is a modern, that's just like, it's like hocus pocus. It's not a real word. It's not a language. It's just a modern use thing we have to do. So the brother is coming from and relying on sources of people that are using speculation and guesswork. See, the good thing about the Torah is, we preserved our knowledge and wisdom throughout the ages so that in the later days, we would wake up and come to the realization. So it is not mythological. It is purely scientific, geometric, and mathematical. The brother is a manifest error. But it was a good try, though. But, that is a strike three. So no, we are not Canaanites. We come from Sumeria. It was not called Babylon at that time. It was called just Sumeria or Shemarwan. Those who observe, people during that time begin to observe the heavenly bodies and They had developed mathematics and science and writing and irrigation and things of these sorts. But they were idol worshippers. He spoke about El and Asherah and Baal. Those are nothing but Canaanite versions of the Egyptian Osiris, Baal, and Isis. So the brother again is in manifest error. And did we mix with the Canaanites? We surely did. Did we mix with the Egyptians? Yes, we did. I would not deny that at all.
Oh man, this the Judah I miss, goddamn it. This the Judah I miss right here, baby. You know, we've been sometimes, brother, the ignorance of our people overshadow the intelligence that you have, brother. This is the goddamn Judah I miss, and that's why I said I want to get this brother up here with another intellectual, with a scholar, because brother Jabari is going to bring out the best in our brother Judah. I'm telling you, this man got some hidden knowledge deep down within, but we've been too busy arguing and bickering and going back and forth, you know. But this the Judah I want to see. So let me ask you real quick, Judah, before I bring on Jabari back. During the time of the pyramids, because the Hebrews keep saying they built the pyramids, brother. Do you have any knowledge of that? Is it true that there were Hebrews in Kemet at the time of the pyramid buildings?
I will deny that statement about other Israelites saying that we have anything to do with pyramid building. I have no knowledge of that. Yeah. We have no record. We have nothing. I will not say that we have any participation in erecting the pyramids.
Beautiful, brother. Jabari, you want to respond to him before I come to the next question for Judah? Oh, you muted, brother.
I must respond. First of all, I want you to understand that our brother Judah Natzarah is very articulate, but he is not really, he's not a student of history. And I don't mean this to be an insult. I want you to hear what he said, and I'm going to expose what he said.
Go ahead.
In order to explain the origin of the Hebrews, he mentions the temple of Bubastis. Can I ask you, you mentioned it was built under Ptolemy VI. I want you to just give me what year you think Ptolemy VI ruled.
It would have to be, since we're counting backwards, it would have to be after 175 BCE. So I can't give you a precise year of Ptolemy VI and Cleopatra, but it would have to be after 175 BCE, where we had a Messiah, a high priest who had died, and his son had fled into Kemet because there was a war between the Seleucids and the Ptolemies. So
good. So let me ask. When I talked to you about the Hyksos entering Kemet, what year was that?
There is no written record in Kemet or the Hyksos of a written precise date of them entering, because they had always kind of bordered along the edges of Kemet until they assumed power in Kemet to rule. But that was not us. Those were Canaanites.
I want you to understand something. And this is where he's playing fast and loose here. And folks, just look very carefully here. When I mentioned how the Hyksos came into Kemet, I'm talking about something, and I was being generous, but I'm talking about something that happened around 1900 BCE. And in order to refute what I said, he talked about something that actually is from about 160 BCE. I don't know if he realizes that I'm talking about something that is literally somewhere around 1700 years older than what he's referring to. And so when I say to you that the Hebrew people are actually young, if he's actually describing them having a providence in Kemet during that time, he is actually agreeing with me, but he doesn't actually realize it. Because then you're saying that at the time that he would like for you to look at the Hyksos or look at the Hebrew people, we've already seen the Persians, we've seen the Assyrians, we've seen the Greeks, we've even seen the Romans. So he's actually talking about a period that is literally, how do you smash 1700 years together and call it history? So I want you to be really clear that while he said it articulately, he did not say anything that was helpful here. And I also need to say to you, dear brother, this is sa.neter TV studio. when you use a source, you can't just show someone the book. That's not giving a source. He showed us the book Jesus at Qumran. Is the cover your source? You need to actually support your ideas, as I have, with quotes, with sources. You can't just show us a cover and then smash together 1,500 years of history. And I really want to get into the idea that Abraham actually comes from, as he called it, Sumeria. No one says Sumeria anymore. Sumer. Because that is a problem. That's a problem. Biblical historians don't make that argument anymore. The only people who make that argument, sa.neter, are people who are reading the Bible and reading the Torah as if it's history. But biblical historians have spent the last 200 to 300 years looking for the archaeological record, and they have found that it is lacking. And so it's really important for you to recognize that if you are actually smashing years over a millennia of history together, and you're trying to say that the Hebrew people are in Kemet, and I would allow him to say the Hebrew people were in Kemet in 170, in essentially the 2nd century before the Common Era. But that means that you're not talking about a people who are ancient. You're talking about young people, younger than the Greeks, younger than the Assyrians, younger than the Persians, certainly younger than the Kemetic people, younger than anyone in the region. So I want you to see the historic fallacies that our brother is laying out. And I want you, and trust me, there's another source I'm going to show you that will also vet his source a bit even further.
Can I speak? 1 second.
All right, Judah, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to ask the next question. Go ahead, brother.
All right. I understand this is the HOK where they rely on other people's intellectual work. However, I am a master, so I don't rely on other people's work. I use sources to substantiate my position. And so we are not we are a new people. I will agree with that. But we came before, like, you can't even use the Greek alphabet to even pronounce or to substantiate our language, such as we don't have like I's and O's and things like that. You can't even spell like the name of our God in the Greek language. So even they say words like Phoenician. Phoenician is even a Greek word. These were Canaanites who had mixed with the Greeks, and they falsely apply their alphabet to ours, which you have to use like modifier. We have 2 vowels and we have modifiers to get our vowel sounds. So I'm gonna say it again. If we have the Dead Sea Scrolls, volume 1 and 2, which are our oldest Israelite writings. So the brother, again, is in manifest error. And he has to realize, y'all be able to realize, Jabari, you're talking to, as you say, a priest, an Israelite priest. I know my language and I know my history. And I know enough of your history to know that we have a different language. You cannot conflate and say that our language, well, here's a source. The Dead Sea Scrolls, volume 1 and 2 by Florentino Garcia Martinez, right? Volumes 1 and 2. Go check these out, the Dead Sea Scrolls Study Edition, where we actually have our writings in it alongside the English, where you have to actually translate and not go by English version. See, this is where Brother Jabari is going to get clapped up. Now, as I stated before, the followers of Onias III and his son had fled into Kemet, where you had some of them who had translated the Torah into the Septuagint, into what you call the Greek version of the Torah. So the brother, again, he's trying to say this is mythological and all this. Sir, that's just to dismiss people's history. But we're still here today, going strong. And I'm going to show and prove, demonstrating. I know the brother wants to avoid the priestly argument and wants to go on by the sources of others outside who do not understand. They don't even pronounce our language right. They falsely called our language Hebrew and this, that, and the other. There is no such word called Hebrew. You can't find this word not once in the Torah. It is made up. It is modern speculation and guesswork. And you cannot rely on that and call that intellectualism. That is called speculation and guesswork, and that is not accepted in an intellectual circle. That is theory. But you are correct too. It is not called Sumeria. You are absolutely correct. It's Sumer. Okay, Shamar, which means to observe or to guard or protect or to observe. The people were worshiping the heavenly bodies. where you can develop mathematics, science, architecture, things of that sort. So again, the brother is wrong. And I would like to also go into the priestcraft of Kemet and Egypt, because we have brothers say, oh, well, you know, the Israelites, they came from the Egyptians. Well, then there should be some traces of lineage of the Kemetic priesthood with the Israelite priesthood. And I will show and demonstrate that it's absolutely not. They are worshiping the heavenly bodies as they were doing in Sumer, as the brother calls it, as he correctly had stated. But we are commanded not to do that. Our system is based upon actual knowledge, wisdom, understanding, science, mathematics, and geometry. Okay, we had kept this and kept this in our records. So here's our source. You can get this Dead Sea Scrolls volumes 1 and 2, our oldest Israelite writings that predate our modern canon of Torah and Tanakh and the prophets. So, sir, he is in manifest error. I am not one of those others. I am Judah Natzarah, the Messiah, and I will teach you.
sa.neter.
All right, hold on, Jabari, hold on. Because if I let y'all keep going back and forth, I'm never going to get to the question.
That's what's going to make it interesting. You have to hear this, sa.neter. You have to hear this.
Go ahead, brother.
In order for him to posit that the Hebrew people are a people that come from Sumer, he actually is making them younger than he did a second ago. Bubastis. I'm gonna even use his term, which is a Greek word, by the way. Bubastis is not the name of the temple. But first he told you that the Hebrews could be attested to 170 BCE. And now
hold up for 1 minute. 1 minute, Jabari. Yo, please don't time nobody out, y'all. Let them get their build in. Don't time nobody out. Let them get their build in. Long as they not being disrespectful, vile, and with vulgar language, let them disagree hard if they want to. Don't time nobody out today. All right, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
I need for you to hear, sa.neter, that now he's talking about their first writings are the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I know that sounds great, but you did say our first writings are the Dead Sea Scrolls. You said that. Folks, if you heard him say it, please put a 1 up in the chat, because he said it more than once. By the way, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the earliest you could put those is the 1st century CE. So he has now made his people 200, 300 years younger than I was going to allow him. How can you then go back to Sumer, which you're talking about a land that is now, you're talking about a land 4,000 years earlier. You're not helping us understand that the Hebrews.
Judah. Judah. You gotta get out of this one, man.
Now he's not smashed 1,700 years. Now he's smashing 3,500 years. Listen, folks, this only sounds good if you don't know history. And the challenge that I will put to our dear brother is that you're sitting with someone who has studied the history. And I know you know some of the dates. So you have to recognize that the argument that you are making doesn't help your argument. You said the sky is blue, and then you said, look, it's red. And everybody's like, wait, didn't you just say it's blue? That's what you just did. How in the world do you first say that we see the Hebrews in 170 BCE, and then you say, well, our oldest writings are actually 300 years later? And you're trying to make it sound like these are a powerful group of people with no writing for 300 years. You're trying to say that they were in Sumer, a land that's attested 4,000 years earlier than the period you're talking about. Brother, you're not helping your argument. And once again, showing a book is not a source. Look at this, sa.neter. Here are my sources. You can't do that. You have to tell us what the book says that supports your position. You can't just simply say, well, you know what? I'm saying that it is, and because I have this book in my hand, it supports what I'm saying. It doesn't, how in the world do you think that works?
Okay.
And here's another source, very quickly, sa.neter. I'm the one showing sources, because I don't want people to think this is just a disagreement among people who have a different opinion. I want you to recognize that one opinion is far superior to the other because the other is supported by sources. That's what you have to understand. So look here. I'm gonna give you another source. He still said that the Hebrew people were not Canaanites. He just told you that. He didn't give you a source. I'm gonna give you a second source. I'm gonna source you to death tonight. This is from the early history of God, Yahweh, and the other deities in ancient Israel. The other deities in ancient Israel. The other deities in ancient Israel, Jabari didn't say it. Mark Smith, biblical historian, said it in 2002. Listen to his source. He says, the most significant change in the past 20 years involves Israel's cultural identity. Despite the long Regnic model that the Canaanites and the Israelites were people of fundamentally different culture, archaeological data now cast doubt on this view. The material culture of the region exhibits numerous common points between the Israelites and the Canaanites in the Iron One period, ca. 1200 to 1000, that's BCE he's referring to. The record would suggest that Israelite culture largely overlapped with and derived from Canaanite culture. In short, Israelite culture was largely Canaanite in nature. Brother, after I give you these sources and give you that work, I gotta dance around the ring a little bit because you're getting work. I don't know if you're getting the work. I don't know if you know that you're getting work right now.
All right, Jabari, let me bring in Brother Judah.
What I'm saying to you is if you have an argument, support the argument.
All right, hey family, I want y'all to know that we don't have a clock up here because we ain't started off to be a debate, but I knew it would be a debate, and so we let these brothers go ahead and have me build respectfully. Another thing is I need y'all to give me some likes, man. I'm not just doing this for African culture. I'm also doing it for the Hebrews that's out there. The Hebrews that want this information. He's equipped to do this, and that's good. So, Brother Judah, let's get it in. Let's get some likes in this building, y'all.
Yes, please. Let's get the likes up. You guys are seeing you're seeing one of your greatest wonders, your greatest intellectuals here, Judah Natzarah. Now, I'm going to show you what is wrong with people relying on other people's work and not doing the work on their own. I will share my screen, please. So, if he wants to go by sources, I'm going to show you the problem with relying on other people's work when they are in speculation and guesswork. Okay. This is the problem here. Here's a book. Here's a source called Robert Eisman, who is a well-known author. He's also established in other fields. But he wrote a book called The Dead Sea Scrolls and the First Christians. When I stated before that we had a Messiah called Onias III, who was mentioned in Daniel 9, verse 25, right, in our scrolls, and Daniel 11. He's called the Prince of the Covenant. His son had moved to Kemet, to Egypt, and established a temple. Now, Brother Jabari is trying to do he's trying to dance around the ring, but see, there's no dancing. See, I get you in the ring, and I start throwing those liver punches. Now, so you want to rely on sources. If you were to come with this, you would be destroyed. This guy here says that there's a source. Okay, it was wrong. Okay, W-R-O-N-G, wrong. The Dead Sea Scrolls and the First Christians. The Zadokites were not Christians, one, and they predate Christianity. Second off, the Zadokites were during the time of the Persians in the Greek period, before the Christian era. So again, the brother is in manifest error, and he's trying to steer away from his Kemetic priest teachings and the Israelite preserved priest teachings, which I will be demonstrating when I box his head off. So you can read this book here, and the author of this book has Jesus' brother James speculating and guesswork that he is called the teacher of righteousness. Okay, now let me go to another. See, we go to our own writings. If you go to the page of 551 of the Dead Sea Scrolls, I think this is volume 2, you will see here, I will highlight, at the period of wrath, 390 years after being delivered up into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar, which some speculate, which is between 585 to 597 BC. The scholars are not all together uniform on their theory and guesswork of when Nebuchadnezzar actually invaded the land of Israel and destroyed our temple, right? So let's just say, let's round it off and say 585, 586, 587 BCE, okay? But we don't have a written date. They didn't write it down. Oh, and also, they also have their Babylonian cylinder, where they also describe this for one of our last kings of Judea, called Jehoiakim, who got replaced by a king called Zedekiah, who was brought to Babylon, right, under Nebuchadnezzar. But This is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, Volume 2. It says, at the period of wrath, 390 years after being delivered into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, he visited them and caused them to sprout from Israel and from Aaron, our priesthood, which he is trying to avoid the priest argument, right? He's trying to talk about what scholars, quote unquote, scholars and their speculation and theories say. And that is not intellectualism. I know that's how HOK gets down, like, you know, with the theory or the theories and the sources. We're not in high school anymore, sir. We are adults. We are men. You have to put in your own work. Okay, you cannot rely on the work of others and their guesswork. And from Aaron, a shoot of planting. Excuse me. Right. This is from my own people's writings, not another person speculating and guessworking. A shoot of planting in order to possess the land and become fat with good things of soil. Go on. And they realized their iniquity and knew that they were guilty men, but they were like blind persons and like those who grope for a path. Watch this. Over 20 years after God appraised their deeds, because they sought him with an undivided heart, he raised up for them a teacher of righteousness in order to make them in the path of his heart. Now, I know that this is probably confusing to those because you probably have never heard this information because, you know, I'm not really over here a whole lot. I know you're going to get nervous, sir. This is what I do. I beat people up. Okay. Now, it's a fact, historical fact, that Nebuchadnezzar was a living individual with an actual living kingdom called Babylon. Babel, right? Means confusion. And Nebuchadnezzar had destroyed and beat up many countries. He had beat up Judea. He had beat up Kemet. He had beat up, he went everywhere and beat up everyone. This is a world ruling kingdom. In fact, Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, the third world ruling kingdom. See, this is called history. And you can find this outside of the Bible. You can find this in just general, history of the world ruling kingdoms. So again, when it said that Nebuchadnezzar came into our land to destroy our kingdom, we're going to speculate because the date says this. No one wrote down the date of, in such a 585 BCE we came. No, that's not what people did in antiquity. This is modern speculation and guesswork, and we're gonna get that out of here. We're gonna get that out of here. We're gonna have dudes come in with their own work. But hold on, let me say this. So if you take down 585, let's go around 585, 586, 587 BCE. Bring on down 390 years as they stated, plus 20. It will bring you into the 170s BCE in the time of the release of Israel from Persia Media, which quote unquote Darius titles of Persian monarchy dynasty. We were let free. I know it hurts, sir. I know this is what we do. We beat you up, right? We got let loose back into our country, and we had our Levite Zadokite line established. Our priesthood is established. That's why I keep bringing up the Dead Sea Scrolls and bringing out the priesthood. So I'm not going to go into 12 tribes and all that. I'm going to use our, because the Levites, those were the top tribe in Israel. They preserved the records. We were the scribes. They kept repeating, rewriting Torahs. So we had the special group called the Zadokite, who, if you go read Josephus, said that these were the most studious of the Israelites during his time, which was the Roman period, right? And we have preserved our records. So we had a historical figure called Onias III, who was a high priest. He was the last high priest. He was murdered in Antioch in Syria. But he was the last Zadokite high priest to rule in Egypt. And his son was supposed to be the succeeding high priest, but he had fled into Kemet and was under the rule of Ptolemy VI and Cleopatra. These are historical figures. So we're not going to mythologize everything. That's a little weird way of getting to the root of the matter. So, sir, you are a manifest error. You are talking to Judah Nazareth, not Tazariak. Sir, stop it, sir. Now,
go in, Judah. Goddamn.
Oh shit.
Judah Nazareth. I know, sir. I know you're trying to play games, sir, but let's keep it real, sir. We preserve our records. We're not using the work of others. We are using our own work. I do my own work. With that, I yield. Go ahead, sir. But let's get to the priest knowledge, sir. We're both priests. Let's educate people.
All right, brother Jabari. You want to go on, or can I ask the question again, or you want to deal with this?
I just have to say, first of all, Judah, I like you. Okay, I like you. I like the way you debate. I must say that while I'm beating you about the face and head, I enjoy our discussion. This is a brother that I would sit down and have a meal with and disagree with, but still enjoy the conversation. So I have to say that. Now, having said that, you have to understand that simply mentioning a historic figure is not enough for you to say that a source occurred in that period. What scholars do is they look for the archaeological and outside textual evidence in order for you to understand what actually occurred. So simply because you have a source that says that Nebuchadnezzar destroyed, by the way, this is which Nebuchadnezzar are you referring to? You know which one? No, you didn't know there was more than one? So this is fun.
Judah, you can answer if you want to. He asked you which Nebuchadnezzar you're talking about.
I don't know why he's laughing. He cannot read their language. Nebuchadnezzar, the one that destroyed and sacked Jerusalem during the time of
the same name. Which one are you referring to?
I'm referring to the one that sacked Jerusalem and around what you guys like to pick dates. Sir, don't get comfortable, sir. This is not going to be a comfortable situation, sir. I know it hurts. Nebuchadnezzar, the one that ransacked Jerusalem and took Zedekiah into Babylon. They have records. They have a seal, a Babylonian seal, where they keep records. But hold on, sir. Wait, sir. Listen, it's going to hurt. As long as you're here with me, it's going to hurt. This is not One West. This is Torah Nights. There's a record, a seal from Babylon that gives a record in their language. Cuneiform, right? Isn't that what their script is called? Cuneiform? They have a seal where they're speaking of them they had taken Jehoiakim, who was the king of Judah, and Nebuchadnezzar, the Nebuchadnezzar I'm talking about, had replaced him with a king called Zedekiah, whom later rebelled, and then they came in and they besieged Jerusalem, and they sacked Jerusalem, and they destroyed the land and destroyed the temple and carried off the vessels on back to Babylon. And since then, we have not had a dynasty.
I asked you a question, and you're going on to a large.
The Nebuchadnezzar that destroyed Babylon. That's the Nebuchadnezzar.
Let me just say this.
Sir, I know, sir. I got to answer your question, sir.
That's a long answer. Because I'm
speaking. I'll make it short. The Nebuchadnezzar that ransacked Jerusalem in the 580s BCE.
Okay. Now, you are talking about Nebuchadnezzar II. Okay? Just so you know, there's more than one, right? And the reason why I asked you which one is because if you had studied the record more than the Bible, you would have been able to answer that question. Because the Bible only mentions one, so you thought there was only one. That's the challenge that I have here. You can't just read the Bible or the Torah and assume that you're reading a historical story. The folks who wrote it were not trying to tell history. So, even if I allow you to say that Nebuchadnezzar actually did great harm to Jerusalem, and I'm not going to even argue that with you, I want you to recognize that Nebuchadnezzar is the ruler. You've called him the ruler of Babylon, right? I want you to recognize that saying that the ruler in that region had a problem with the Hebrews and then saying, well, obviously it means they came from Sumer, you are actually smashing now 2,500 years together. Because one of the things that people don't always recognize when they're just reading the Bible is that in the same area where you see Babylon or or even Chaldonia, what you're actually seeing is different civilizations that occurred in the same place. So that simply saying that Nebuchadnezzar had a battle with the Hebrews does not posit them as coming from Sumer. It doesn't. By the way, even in your own Bible, what's the distance between the destruction of the temple under Nebuchadnezzar and the supposed journey of Abraham? Even in your Bible, those things are distant. So saying that something occurred in the same place doesn't mean it's the same people. That is almost like, and I use this same example on our dear brother Zion Lex, that's almost like saying that the former president Donald Trump is the head of the Cherokee Nation. Well, it's in the same place. You have to understand that they're not the same people. They occur in the same place, but they're not the same. So I think the argument you're trying to make here is that because you can attest that Nebuchadnezzar might have done something to the Hebrews, by the way, the whole idea that that happened is a little bit faulty, right? But even if I allowed you to say that, and I didn't beat you up on that, that still does not say that the Hebrew people came from Ur. By the way, the Bible says they came from Ur of Chaldea. That's like saying, see, you put your hands up because you haven't studied the history. That's like saying Jabari comes from Harlem. Now, you know that Harlem is part of Manhattan, and it was named for...
Hold up, Jabari, say that again. You froze when you said that.
That's like saying that Jabari comes from Harlem of the Manhattan.
Oh.
Now, Harlem is a neighborhood in Manhattan, but Manhattan gets its name from a much earlier people called the Manhattan, and Harlem gets its name from the Dutch that came here. If I said those two things in a historical narrative, you would recognize that I was not writing the story at the time of the Manhattan, or maybe even at the time of the people who called this place Harlem. That's what historians look at, and they're able to say, this is being written later. So I want you to understand that you have done nothing for your argument. You've made it worse. Now a source. Because I think that, you know, by the way, your source was the Bible, the Dead Sea Scrolls. We're looking for a historical source. Look at this. This is from Reconstructing, let me show it to you. Reconstructing the Society of Israel. Until the last several decades.
Hold on. Hey, Jabari.
Yes.
Let me see what you wanted to say, Judah, before he go into that.
I want to show this guy keeps referring to guesswork and speculation from people who were not there. You cannot go. I know, Jabari. I know this how you guys got that Garfield, that middle school scholarship, sir. We have our own written testimony and records. You have to go from our records. You cannot speak about a people who were not there, talking about a people and their speculation and guesswork.
Judah, you're gonna come right after him. He almost done with this.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Jabari.
Listen to the source. I want you to understand.
You're breaking up, Jabari. You're breaking up, brother. You're breaking up.
Am I breaking up for everyone else? Because it looks very smooth on my side. Is everyone else?
We hear you good. We hear you good now. Judah, you got to sit here so you can hear it. What's going on? Okay,
so listen. Simply because someone says that something occurred at a certain time, historians don't do that. Historians say, okay, they said it. Now, how can we support what they've said? And when they look for the support of the Hebrew people existing during the time of Ur, during the time of Sumer, they don't find it. Listen to what Paula McNutt says about in her book Reconstructing the Society of Ancient Israel in 1999. Until the last several decades, historians of ancient Israel have tended to begin the accounts of Israel's history with the so-called ancestral or patriarchal period, dated variously, blah, 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 blah. Underlying these histories is a general assumption that the traditions recorded in the book of Genesis about Abraham and his descendants, those in the remainder of the Pentateuch about Moses and the Exodus from Egypt, and those in Joshua and Judges about the conquest and settlement preserve some historical evidence of a period preceding the birth of Israel as a nation at the end of the early Iron Age. Listen to this. But it is now generally recognized that there is nothing specific in the Genesis stories that can be definitively related to known history in or around Canaan in the early 2nd millennium BCE. Abraham is identified as coming from Ur of the Chaldeans, but the Babylonians were not known as the Chaldeans until a much later time. So in other words, if the Bible says Ur of the Chaldeans, you can tell that it wasn't written during the time of Ur. Do you understand this? Now, you have asserted that I'm talking about people who didn't exist during that time, who didn't live during that time. You're correct. But that's what historians do. Historians uncover things that occurred in the past. And what I'm saying to you is simply because a narrative says that it occurred during a time, now historians have to look for outside evidence that will support that narrative. And the narrative itself is faulty, or else you would never hear of Abraham coming from Ur of the Chaldeans.
All right, let him go, Jabari. All right, Brother Judah, It's on you, brother.
I would commend Brother Jabari for stepping in the ring with the master, but I'm his Messiah and I'm going to teach him. You cannot rely on people who was not there. That is not intellectualism. That is middle school scholarship. Sir, stop, sir. We're not going to confuse the people.
It's a beast in this motherfucker. You can feel the energy. People.
And we are still here doing the same thing. This is not speculation speaking. I'm not going to ask him a question. I'll give an example of relying on other people's work. It's not intellectualism. It's not accepted in intellectual circles. It's not speculation and guesswork circles. It's intellectualism. There was a pharaoh called Pharaoh Shashi. Archaeologists, historians, they don't know what dynasty or when he ruled at all. However, his writings are spread all the way in Kemet, all the way in Canaan, with Libya, other places, but they do not know where and how long he ruled. So they set up these the Kemetic chronological dynasties, and they speculate of when this. Wait a minute, there's a major pharaoh, and they don't even know when he ruled or what dynasty or whatever. So we have to be careful. Thank you, baby. We have to be careful about relying on others' work, right? See, this is why I'm glad that I'm in HOK, so we can get back to intellectualism and not relying on other people's work. Now I want to show you something real quick. I want to share my screen here to show you the brother is all over the place. He's talking about Nebuchadnezzar 5 and this. No, bro, stay right there. Stay right there and fight. I know you're a good Christian, Jabari. I give you that, brother. You're a good Christian. You like to slip and slide and shuckle buck and dance and do the funky chicken and all that good stuff, bro. But no, bro, stop. You're gonna have to stay here and fight, bro. Okay? I'll just give you. Now, do I rely on this holy, but this thing called Antiquity of the Jews by a historian called Josephus, right? Because remember what the brother said. The brother said, well, this is a purely mythological. Well, clearly, you want to source, right? You want to use other people's work. Okay, this is from the Antiquities of the Jews, 13 verses 3. Bear in mind, he's avoiding the roots of the matter, like the things that people want to hear. Not whether we are coming from Sumer and all this. We were not called Abari people in Sumer. So you're not going to find Abari, or what he likes to call Greek Hebrew archaeology, in Sumer. We were not a people in Sumer. Abraham got pushed out, right? But again, we go back to our oldest writings. Our oldest, they weren't our first. They're just we are a copying people. I still translate and do translation work to this very day. To this very day, and I've been doing it for years. This is what the Israelites do. We are a scribal people. So again, remember what he said. He's trying to hop around from here to there. No, I'm going to keep you right here in the middle of the ring. That's what Judah Nazareth does. He fights. He doesn't run. And that's not the dance team. This is HOK. This is blood sport, the cage match, not the dance off. Now check this out. The friendship that was between Onias and Ptolemy Philometor. Now I'm sure our good brother Jabari wouldn't deny that the Ptolemies were a dynasty in Egypt. Would you deny that? No, you don't need to answer that. That's okay. It's my time. You can sit there and get this beating, and you're going to get it. And how Onias built a temple in Egypt.
Speak your speech, nigga. Speak your speech, nigga. Speak your speech.
Judah Nazareth, Torah night. Shout out to the whole house of Israel. But the son of Onias, the high priest, who was of the same name of his father, and who fled to King Ptolemy, who was called Philometor, who lived now at Alexandria, as we have already said. Hold on, let me scroll down. So I'm trying to get this down. I'm sorry, bear with me. When this Onias saw that Judea was oppressed by the Macedonians, surely our good brother Jabari won't say that the Macedonians are a fictitious mythological people. You don't have to be in the Bible to know that. This is just what they call it, like secular history. You know what I'm saying? This is just worldwide. It's known everywhere. I'm in Japan. They know about this. Oppressed by the Macedonians and their kings, and out of desire to purchase to himself a memorial and eternal fame, he resolved to send it to the king Ptolemy, who is the sixth, and Queen Cleopatra. I'm quite sure he would agree that Ptolemy and Cleopatra were not mythological individuals. To ask to leave them that he might build a temple in Egypt like that at Jerusalem, and might ordain Levites and priests, which I will be teaching and beating up people with the Levitical priesthood, since Jabari is a Kemetic priest. Surely he will like to disseminate some information on this Kemetic priesthood versus our Israelite priesthood, but he will talk about 5 different Nebuchadnezzars and Sumerian, Michael Jackson and Prince. No, bro, we're talking about Kemet and Israel. Now look, I said it again. This is Antiquity of the Jews. This is just secular history. He's not quoting any scriptures. He's just going by just history. All right. Let's get to another quote unquote source, since he likes to use sources. Let's go up to, this is from Aristobulus and the Hierologos of the Egyptian Jews by Livia Caponi. Okay, but this is, all this is just, you can use this to substantiate your argument, but you cannot base your argument off of the work of others. That is not intellectualism. Okay, let's keep it going. Just want to share this real quick. Right, we're going to get down to our good brother Onias IV. Right, our priesthood was still in existence. Bear with me 1 second. I'm sorry, I had to go up. You can see here it says it's quoting 3 Maccabees, but it says an anonymous book probably written by an Egyptian Jew in the late 2nd or 1st century before the Christian era to celebrate the courage and firmness of the Jews of Egypt before the persecution of the Ptolemies. Now, surely our good brother here won't deny that the Ptolemies were ruling in Egypt. They were Greeks ruling in Egypt. Just give me a second, we're almost done. After defeating Antiochus III in the 4th war of the Coal Syria, Philopator and his army visited and conquered cities and paid homage to their temples, including the Temple of Jerusalem. Remember, right? Just bear with me 1 second. Remember I told you we had a temple in Egypt. But our brother likes to bring us all over. He wants to dance around, sir. I'm going to keep you right here in the middle of the ring, sir. You're going to fight, sir. Okay? Now, this guy is also quoting Josephus, right, who also has many mistakes in his writings as well. So you can't rely on that as particularly just accurate depiction of history. He actually confuses Onias III and Onias IV in his writings in Josephus. But on. According to Josephus, moreover, the persecution of Ergates II of Sicon, their dates, 145 to 116 BC, since the Philopator, most of the people in Judea were pro-Egyptian, which they were, many being mercenary soldiers in the Ptolemaic army, which they were. It is unlikely that the king chose to have such bad relations with the Jews, okay? Which it should be Israelites, we're not Jews, all right? So, yeah, let me just get off that real quick. Let me get back, stop sharing. So, brother likes to use outside sources. That's cool. But you can't use that to substantiate your argument. Let's get down to the root of the matter. Let's not dance around. Let's stay in the middle of the ring and let's give the people what they want to see. They want to see a demonstration of Kemetic priesthood wisdom, if you are actually following that, and Israelite priesthood wisdom. Not the 15,000 Nebuchadnezzars, not Michael Jackson, okay, not Donald Trump, okay, not the work of others and outside sources. Let's deal with the sources we have at hand. Let's bring up some Kemetic writings, priesthood writings, and so that we can demonstrate to the people that you understand the Afro-Asiatic linguistic branch of Kemet, as I can go into my language, which they call Yahweh Dayath, or what they call the Judean province language, which I can read and write. Let's get to that, sir. Let's not confuse the people. With that, I give the mic.
Is he muted?
It's a beast in this motherfucker. You can feel the energy.
I'm not. Are you hearing?
All right, Jabari. We got to move to the next question. It's getting late. I don't want you to be up too late, Jabari.
Okay, sa.neter, I have to ask a question though. I'm not sure if he's made a point. He spoke for a long time. He didn't make a point. The point. I want you to hear that. I mean, really quickly, our argument is that the Hebrews did not come from Sumer or from or that region. He's giving you stuff. Now, listen, folks, if I had known that this was going to be this easy, I would have. I mean, this is. I'm not sure if I understand. I'm not sure if he understands what he's saying. But I want
everything you say now was questionable.
Sumer, you're talking about a civilization that occurs around 4000 BCE. Right? You can still talk about the Akkadians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Persians. They all are in the same place. You can't simply say that the Hebrews come from Sumer at around 4000 BCE because you see them interacting with people, rulers in the same region 4,000 years later. That's what you've done. I don't even want to argue with you about the Ptolemies. The Ptolemies are after 332 BCE. You're smashing 3,500 years together. How does that make sense? You're trying to argue that the Hebrews come from Sumer 4000 BCE by saying that they must have come there because they had problems with rulers that were there 3,500 years later.
What
Does
the
that mean because I went to a protest against Donald Trump? Does that mean that now I am actually one of the original inhabitants of Manhattan? The protest was in Manhattan. I don't know if you understand what you're saying. Do you, Judah, do you see the problem with the timelines that you're presenting? You have to see the problem that you're creating for yourself. Do you not see it? I'm asking you.
All right. Hey, Jabari, let me move to the next question.
Okay.
Can I answer real quick? Can I answer real quick?
No, Judah, no, brother. Because we're going to keep going back and forth. We've been on this question for how long? Damn, an hour.
He's not making
an hour we started.
He's no.
Here we go.
Argument.
If y'all want to go back and touch on the topic again, that's good. But let me ask this question for y'all, man. There is solid information supporting the conversation about the Exodus never happening. Please offer information supporting this or disproving this notion. Who would like to go first?
I'll go.
I'll read it again.
Go ahead.
There is solid information supporting that the conversation of the Exodus never happening. Please offer information to support or disprove this notion. Who would like to go first?
He said he was going to go. That's fine.
Let's go, Judah. Unmute yourself, brother.
All right, we're talking about an event that happened thousands of years ago, and none of us are eyewitnesses to it. However, there are some small archaeological evidence to support the fact. All right, I'll give you an example. David, the Gulf of Aqaba. Right, this is where there is a landmass of water with a bridge where it is, speculated. I won't say, oh well, for sure we weren't there. We don't have a time machine. And again, we do not rely on speculation and guesswork. But the theory that they came out and they crossed through the Gulf of Aqaba, which is a body of water with a bridge they crossed over. They also have pictures of Roman chariot wheels on the bottom of the sea, which the same chariot wheels they have on the bottom of the sea match the same chariot wheels that are etched on the walls of Kemet. Right? They also have a pharaoh's body that was washed up, and I'm not a Muslim. Sir, I mean, okay, good, great. You're just gonna rely on white people for everything? Okay, no, I mean, no problem. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If we're doing that. See, I do my own work. Okay, beat you up. This is just a small thing called revealing God's treasures. Okay, because we're going to rely on everything from white people, but okay, that's cool. All right. Now, first, a history of Moses having lived in Egypt is found there prior to the Exodus taking place. Most archaeologists do not believe the children of Israel ever lived in Egypt. Right. So you have two contending positions of speculation and guesswork. All right. And this is where it gets dangerous, trying to use speculation and guesswork and try to pass that off as intellectualism. That is not intellectualism. That is speculation and guesswork. All right. Now this guy here says above baby Moses or Senmut. Now we don't know if Moses is called Senmut. Then right or Moses or Thutmose II as an adult with a serpent or on his forehead, meaning crown prince. Now we don't know that. You can say that this is Moses. You can theorize and speculate and use guesswork. You can theorize, but sir, that's not intellectual, sir. And this is where Jabari is getting confused because he's so used to using the Christian dance move that he hasn't seen anybody like me. No, hold on, let's go here. As you can see here, it says traditional location of Mount Sinai. Remember, right? Traditional site with zero evidence. Why? Because this happened thousands of years ago. There are tons of people that have moved in. Oh, you know what? I would like to save this for like later, but Saudi Arabia themselves also have knowledge of evidence of the Exodus, but they have it. It's what do they call it? It's illegal. They have a fence up. Just give me a second. Hold on. We're not going to play any videos. All right. As you can see here, you see the theory, right? You cannot pass this off as intellectualism. This is a theory that they went from Goshen or Ramesses or Ramasha or Succoth, and they traveled on down and it came to what's called Nuwebe, right? Which is near Saudi Arabia, as the Torah states that we had gotten through the wilderness of the Red Sea or the Sea of Reeds on down to Saudi Arabia, Mount Paran to Mount Sinai, right? This is okay. Let's keep it going. Okay, now, am I saying this is right? No, because I don't rely on theory and speculation. This is thousands of years ago. None of us were there, right? But you can see here, they have it here that this is supposed to be the crossing route. Even our Torah says that we came from a part where there's a body of water and we crossed over into Saudi Arabia. So I says the Most High came from Mount Paran. Mount Paran is in what we call Saudi Arabia. Of course, that wasn't the name of the time. As you can see here, the children of Israel were near the beach of this crossing site. Remember I told you? Let's keep it going. Okay? The 5-mile-long beach where the children of Israel were trapped at this dead end. Some were ready to blame Moses for the soon defeat. Blah, blah. You can find this in the Torah. Okay? As you can see here, there's a route, there's a body of water, and there's a crossing area where it goes into Saudi Arabia, where Saudi Arabia actually has archaeological evidence, but is illegal. They have it so that you cannot study or, right? We already did Josephus. We're not going to go through that again. I'm sorry, I messed up. I said the Gulf of Aqaba. I'm sorry. It's Nuwebe Beach. I'm sorry, Gulf of Aqaba, but the Nuwebe Beach, as you can see here. You see this man standing here? I can't make this any bigger. There's a man standing here with a column. And this is near Saudi Arabia, right? If I'm not mistaken, but right? So the crossing paths, the chariot wheels, you can see here is a small picture. Here's a chariot wheel at the bottom of the body of water here, an Egyptian burial wheel. Here is a column that was said to be erected by King Solomon. As you can see, the man is very small to this pillar that was erected as a memorial of the crossing site of the children of Israel. All right. So, but hold on, let me show this real quick. As you can see here, now Jabari, now remember, denial is a filthy river in Egypt. So anything I say, they're going to say, oh, no. Well, wait a minute. Who built this pillar then? It is speculated and theorized that King Solomon erected this pillar here as a memorial of the exodus of the children of Israel leaving Mitzrayim to Saudi Arabia, right? Just give me 1 second, please. Give me 1 second. I want to show you where. Hold on, bear with me. Okay, brother wanted quote unquote sources. Nuwebe. Bear with me. Hold on. It says above Nuweba al Mazania means Nuwebe, waters. Waters and Musa is similar to Musa, or which means Moses or Masha. This is amazing. At the exact same spot where the crossing take place, waters and Moses. Okay, and you see here the crossing route from Nuwebe, the crossing route into Saudi Arabia, as the Torah has stated. You see Mount Sinai over here, which would be called the wilderness. Let's keep it going. Right now, okay, of course, remember, you can deny, it's always denial, but neither one of us were there. As you can see here, you see the chariot wheels of Kemet. Okay, right here, you can see with the spokes and the axle on the wheels of Kemet. You see it right there. You can see it right here with the 4 spokes. Okay, I'm sure he won't deny that and say that Kemets didn't have chariots. Okay, it says above left, the photo taken of the gilded chariot wheel that remains on the seafloor. It was found by Ron Wyatt using a molecular frequency generator from the boat above, after he set the equipment to search for gold. The Bible said that all the chariots of Egypt and 600 choice chariots or gold veneered models were in the army pursuing God's people. Right? So you go on here and you also find, if I'm not mistaken, this is, I think, a horse bone. There are numerous chariot wheels plus human and horse bones at this crossing site, or right of this Gulf of Aqaba in the area of Nuwebe crossing into Saudi Arabia. Okay, as the Torah also states. You can see the coral on this chariot wheel. Now, these guys are going to tell you that your eyes are lying to you, but they can't explain to you what it is. See, when you throw a punch, what's your counter punch? Simply saying no, that's not intellectualism. That's called drinking waters from a dirty river. Okay, as you can see here, there is a chariot wheel here with the spokes, with a hub. Where did this come from? Surely they didn't just throw this down here and put coral on there. But of course, we're going to hear a whole bunch of denial. No, that's not true. Oh, no, that's not true. Well, the sources say. Well, wait a minute. We're looking at a picture of a chariot wheel found in the bottom of the same area where it said that Moses and him crossed from. Okay.
Now, Judah,
Right.
let's make it clear. You are proving that the Exodus happened. What does this have to do with the Exodus?
You said, is there any proof of the Exodus actually occurring? I'm saying this is what he has to rely on sources. Well, the outside sources, they're theorizing that yes, this didn't in fact occur because they have archaeological evidence of it. Now we're going to hear a bunch of denial, okay? But we just saw with our own eyes. But he's not going to show a counter argument of proof, archaeological proof.
All right, brother Jabari.
You know, sa.neter, I almost feel like I should stay quiet for 5 minutes and then speak at the last minute, because that's almost all I need to refute most of what he's saying. But that would be boring for our audience, so I'm not going to do that. But I just want you to know that let's just before I show you any sources or make any argument, because our brother shows us a chariot wheel at the bottom of the ocean, he already told you that there were 600 chariots, right? So if you find one chariot wheel at the bottom of the ocean, by the way, he says he found it there. We don't see a source. We just see a picture. Where is that chariot wheel? Where's the source? How do we know that the picture you're showing is actually a chariot wheel in the place that you're arguing it is? You just showed us a picture that you put on us. That doesn't make sense. But I want you to know that simply because you see one chariot wheel, how does that attest to an army of 600 people? I mean, I'm not even sure if he's making an argument anymore. I'm really, it's hard. This is difficult, sa.neter. I think that his arguments are becoming more and more fanciful. Anyway, let me show you. Let me just say to you, first of all, is that my argument is that the Exodus did not occur. Okay, that it did not occur. I'm going to be really clear about my position, and I think that unfortunately our brother is not being very clear about. He's not making a clear argument anymore, and that's the challenge that we have. Now, I want you to know that as I read to you the piece from Paula McNutt, she also talks about, look at this. Let me do this very quickly. Are you seeing my screen? Okay, there you go. You can even see here that she says that underlying these histories is the assumption that traditions recorded in the book about Genesis and Abraham and his descendants, those are the remainder of the Pentateuch about Moses and the exodus from Egypt, and those in Joshua and Judges about the conquest and settlement preserve some historical evidence of a period preceding the birth of Israel as a nation at the end of the early Iron Age. She's saying this was an assumption. But now it is generally recognized that there's nothing specific in Genesis stories that can be definitively related to known history in or around Canaan. I want you to recognize that what she's saying is that this entire period is now in question, that we know very little based on the archaeological evidence. That if you are saying to me that a group of soldiers on 600 chariots perished in the ocean, you should find a whole lot of material left over. And in fact, if people even lived in the desert for 40 years, you would also see lots of evidence of their settlements. 40 years is a long time. But none of that is found. You have to understand that most people who are people of the Christian faith, it's funny he keeps calling me Christian, but he's talking about Moses. I want you to be clear that most people of the Christian and Hebrew, I'll be fair, Hebrew faith, what they do is they look at their biblical story, their Torah story, and then they try to shoehorn things into it. That's not how historical evidence occurs. What you have to do is look for evidence that supports the argument. The shoehorning doesn't work. You show me one chariot wheel. Let's say that chariot wheel is in fact where you say it is. Let's say it is. Wouldn't you be surprised if you just saw one? You told us that there were 600 chariots. You see one chariot wheel? Should that be enough for you, a thinking person, Judah Natzarah? You should say that doesn't make sense. But the reason why you're not able to say that is because you are using your faith and calling it history. That's a problem. So look at this really quickly. Moses is not an actual historical person. He's a mythological figure. First of all, you should understand that the Kemetic name is Meses. It's like saying John. It's like saying John. It's a very common name. In addition to that, you have to understand that with all of these people, there is no historical or archaeological record of them. The Bible even says that the workers worked in the cities of Pithom and Ramesses. And you have to understand that at the time of the quote unquote Exodus occurring, if it occurs at the time you're describing, the cities that they would have worked on were only used as store cities. There was no work going on there. So there's a challenge to this, a big problem. And here's a simple argument. If Pharaoh was so angry that he was chasing after these people, why is it that they don't name him? Why is it that they don't say, this is the dude that had a problem with us? They just say Pharaoh. If you saw a history of the United States and they said, president did this, wouldn't you say, president? Which one? By the way, there have only been 46 presidents. There are over 300 rulers in ancient Kemet, and each of them has 5 names. But your narrative didn't see fit to give us one. You can see that this is not a historical story. So let's read a source here. Here you go. This is from Moore and Kelly, Biblical History and Israel's Past, the changing study of the Bible and history. Most histories of ancient Israel no longer consider information about the Egyptian sojourn, the Exodus, and the wilderness wanderings recoverable or even relevant to Israel's emergence. Most important is the fact that no clear extra-biblical evidence exists for any aspect of the Egyptian sojourn, Exodus, or wilderness wanderings. Biblical historians don't make this argument anymore. Only people of faith trying to prove that their faith makes sense make this argument. And I'm going to say to you, brother, if you are trying to pretend that you are in fact a person of letters, a person of study, you have to actually make an argument that is supported by the data. You can't just say the Bible says, and it must be so. Because biblical historians have left that field for probably almost the last 50 years, certainly the last 20 or 30 years. You're the only one arguing that. If I went into any major university in Israel, in the United States, anywhere, they wouldn't make the argument you're making. And they're the ones that are looking at the archaeological data. I want you have to make a better argument. You have to make a better argument. Brother, I've enjoyed our conversation, but I want you to go back to the drawing board on some of this stuff. You got to try to prove if an Exodus occurs, shouldn't we see all of you're showing me one chariot wheel? If I told you that there was a major accident on, I'm not sure, you're in Japan, but most people might know this, a major accident on the Major Deegan here in New York, a major accident. And I took you to the site and you saw one mirror lonely laying there on the highway, you would say, well, what about the major accident? I see only one piece of a car. And you'd be right to ask me that question. That's what you're doing here. And so you have to support this with better sources. Okay, I'm done.
All right, Judah. Judah is on you, brother.
Response, please. Yes, Jabari is absolutely correct. He is finished and he's done. Now I know the chat, you're biased, but Judah Natzarah is HOK now. So all the relying on other people's sources and denial, we're not gonna drink water from denial.
Yeah, hold up, real quick, family. Judah Natzarah is HOK, Hebrew Torah Knights. is all right. We coming together in unity, and this is a build between both of them. You see what I'm saying? So it ain't like they going against each other, trying to tear each other up. You see what I'm saying? This the Judah I love right here and respect. So go ahead, brother. Finish doing what you do.
All right. Yes. Thank you. See, I told you it was going to be a whole lot of denial, a whole lot of denial. See, anyone can say, well, you know, Moses didn't exist. Well, show me, give me a time machine and show me that he didn't exist. I brought out a pharaoh called Pharaoh Sheshi. He won't address that. Sir, you don't need to shake your head, sir. I know it hurts. I told you, Judah Nazareth is now in the building. All that Christian dancing, that's done. You can't do that with me, bro. You got to use this where you come into the spiritual world. Let me show you this something real quick. He said the sources. He said, well, you showed a horse's will. You showed nothing. You just keep going back to what somebody else said. We don't care what somebody else said. We have eyes and we see. Now, for those of you who are biased and Judah's a newcomer. Well, listen, the grand champion is here.
And let me tell you too, Judah, real quick. I spoke to the captain. I spoke to Captain Tazoriak about Rob Rack and
see. Now, for those of you who are biased and Judah's a newcomer. Well, listen, the grand champion is here.
And let me tell you too, Judah, real quick.
In Kemet, then I can just sit there and deny and be like, well, there was only the Egyptian pharaohs were only ruling with a few people. There's probably like a few hundred people in Kemet because you can't find all their millions of bones. See, do you see the power of denial? Denial is not intellectualism. Let's get to this, back to this though. We clapping this brother down. He's frustrated. I get it. You know, Sandra should never brought me over here because this is what now they got to step up their game. Notice he's avoiding. We're avoiding talking about Kemet's priesthood versus Israelite priesthood. This is what people want to see. Science, mathematics, and geometry, not outside sources and guesswork and speculation, and then saying, well, this is how you debate. No, I'm a master at debating. That's why I'm here. Okay, so y'all gonna have to step your game up. There'll be no more denial. You're gonna have to show and prove. Okay, this didn't happen. No, you're gonna have to show and prove. Anybody can say no to anything, right? I can say no, it's not hot outside. It's like 80 degrees outside right now. Jabal Makla is recognizable by its distinct blackened peak, which some say may be evidence of God descending on Mount Sinai as a fire. And bear in mind, I didn't read any scripture. So he can't say, well, you're reading the Bible. That, sir, would be a blunder. That is not true, okay? Researchers have tried to figure out what may have caused the strange color patterns, and theories range from ancient volcanic activity to an external source of burning. As you can see here in the back of this mountain, there is a blackened peak, but there's no trees for this blackened peak of this mountain. Of course, Jabari will just deny this and act like your eyes are just deceiving you. See, but I'm here to help you see clear. Okay? You know, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You can't beat the counsel of God. Okay? Denial is that's not intellectual at all, right? Then he goes on, we're not gonna read the scripture here right today, right? But we're just showing you that why is there a blackened peak mountain? Why is there the Gulf of Aqaba where there's a crossing? Why are there chariot wheels? Why are there horse wheels? Are they supposed to find all of them? No, you can't make simple-minded arguments like that and say, well, where are the rest of them at? Well, okay, we're the dead body. We're all the people in Kemet that supposedly live there. And then you're going to get a Christian dance move and switch the topic. No, sir, stay here, sir, and fight, sir. We're not gonna run. Okay, when you want to debate the champion, you have to beat the champion to be the champion. Okay, how about this here? What about this blackened peak? What is this? This is not a volcano. Why is this mountain burned at the top? The color of Jabal Makla's top is so distinct that British explorer John Philby made a point of mentioning the basalt pyramid of Makla when he traveled through the era of basalt is a dark igneous rock formed from volcanic activity, right? He thinks it's a volcano. Well, we know there must be some kind of fire at the top, right? Give me a second, hold on. We don't need to read all this. We're just going to get to the pertinent parts. Of course,
Jabari over there having fun, man. Why you Jabari's funny.
He's trying to use the Christian dance moves, but it's not working. He can't explain why is the peak of this mountain black? There's not a cloud covering it. There's not a tree here. Why is this the different color than all the other surrounding areas? The blackened peak of Jabal Makla. He can't explain this. He can only deny it. But denial is not intellectualism. Denial is a dirty river in Egypt. Okay, let's keep it going. It says there were differences in analysis because scientists could not have access to the mountain directly, and so they were unable to determine how representative the rock samples area of the entire peak or particular sections of the peak. Right. So you had scientists there studying this. Jabari's not a scientist. he is relying on the sources of other people's work, and this is why he's getting that work. You're gonna have to come with a whole new tactic to beat the Messiah, Judah Nazareth. Okay, the rock was metamorphosized into a low to middle amphibolite facies and may have undergone metamorphism at an approximate temperature of 500 degrees or lower at lower pressure, no more than 2 to 3 kilobars. My guess is that the rock started out as igneous rock, probably of basaltic or andesitic composition, was later metamorphosized, which means it changed. Something occurred here. What was going on this mountain? Okay, what was going? Look, scientific criticism. Now you have scientists who go against it. Scientific criticisms of the burnt peak theory, right? So when we're discussing these things, you always have a pro and a con side. That's what I'm saying. But neither one of us were there to. We're all doing speculation and guesswork, but these questions remain. How do you explain this blackened peak? Oh, well, you know, there's a volcano. Prove it. Were you there? No. So we have to be careful about discussing things of antiquity and then asserting that we are masters of history. You wasn't there and you don't have a time machine. You are doing speculative guesswork, not landbacking, piggybacking off the work of others, and that is not intellectualism. When you are an intellectual, you come with your own work and you may use sources to substantiate your position. You do not write off the work of others. This is where it's okay. They're back. 2021, we're back. Look, he's working. He's looking, searching right now, bro. He got clapped. He got clapped. Now, I'm gonna mute my mic. You know what I mean? I was gonna say, brother, I hope that one day, you know, we will actually get to the root of the matter, because you said you're a Kemetic priest, and I would like to demonstrate the Kemetic priesthood versus the Israelite priesthood, and people want to see the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, not theory and guesswork. Hold up.
You said you want to demonstrate the Kemetic priesthood?
Well, he likes to say he's a Kemetic priest, so I would like him to demonstrate his Kemetic priesthood knowledge and wisdom versus Israelite priest knowledge and wisdom. Okay. See, I can show and prove. Good. I can show and prove. I can count to 10 in my language. I can do all of these things. My brother here cannot do that. He can't do that. If you're asking, Brother Jabari, can you count to 10 in the ancient Egyptian language? Can you please do it now, sir? Just 10, 1 to 10, sir. And then we have a source that proves that what you're saying is true.
All right, Brother Jabari, we're going to move on to the next question.
Wait, sa.neter, I'm going to say something it's going to be 15 seconds.
Go ahead, brother.
This brother is now trying to make a case for a fire on a mountain. That's what he's trying to do by looking at igneous rock, which tends to be darker colored. I mean, is he trying? There's no refutation to this, sa.neter. This is the tomfoolery of a religious zealot now. That's what this is. Okay. Because the rocks are black, that means that God burnt it?
Oh, man.
I have nothing else to say. That's ridiculous.
But he has no counter argument. This is what I'm talking about. Denial.
Be a counter argument. That is such a ridiculous comment.
Listen, you're gonna have to step your intellectual game up when you're debating the Messiah. You can't come with speculation, guesswork, and denial. So you're gonna have to step it up, sir. And I got you, sir. Listen, Judah Nazareth is in the building, y'all. These dudes are gonna have to step their intellectual game up. Quoting sources just means.
All right, hey yo, all my House of Conscience family members, we got a new sheriff in town, Jabari, and his name is Judah Naz. So yo, brother, his name is Judah Naz, Jabari. All right, so here's my question for you, Judah Naz. Here's my question for you, Judah Naz. Was Canaan a vassal and subservient nation to Kemet?
At one point they were, and at one point they ruled, yes.
Okay, Jabari, yes.
I mean, we're talking about a long period of time. For most of the time that Kemet is in existence, it is under the control of the Kemetic people. I think it might be one of the reasons why we see the curse of Ham is what they call it sometimes. But it's interesting that the person who saw his father naked is not the one that's cursed. I think that what we actually see in this story is a political diatribe about the relationship between Canaan and Kemet. Because remember, Canaan is cursed. Cam or Kem is not. What they're trying to say is those people who are under the control of the Kemetic people will be cursed. And this really is a political diatribe used by those people who we might later call Hebrews, who are arguing about their brothers who remain Canaanites. And so that's I think where we going.
Okay, Judah Naz, I'll bring this question back to you again. Listen to this question, man. The story of Moses is often highlighted by the use and the power of the staff rod. Exodus 4:17, Exodus 7:19. Question: Can we connect and correlate the staff of Moses to the Jed of Ptah? And would that be a silent argument that the Jed is the origin?
So the Jed is the backbone or the spinal column of Osiris.
Yes.
Okay. So you cannot. There's no equivalent to the staff.
Hey, yo, hold on, Judah.
Okay.
God damn, I'm a little impressed. You know that?
No, you should not be.
But he knew. No, I'm talking about when he said the backbone of Osiris. That's what I'm talking about.
You didn't say Asar.
What he said?
Say what you said again.
The Greek version is Osiris.
Oh, the Greek name now.
Oh, no, Osiris.
Oh, you're using a Greek name for
but I knew what he meant, though, Jabari. I know what he meant. That's why you heard me say Osiris.
What you're hearing is someone who is not really familiar with the stories he's describing.
But what I'm saying, Jabari, at least he knew that. So he is familiar with it. He's just not familiar with the. Hold on. He's just not familiar with the proper name, but he's familiar with the story.
So that bar is so low that an ant struggles to get under it. That bar that you have set is so low that an ant is brushing his antenna on it. Come on.
Can I answer though?
But let him answer the question. Go ahead.
Yeah. The brother's talking about Osiris and Asar, but he used the word Hebrew, which you can't find that word one time in the Torah, not once, right? So he's, I told you, anything to dance. We're not dancing over here. This ain't the Thriller video, Michael Jackson. No, we over here to fight. Now, the Jed is the pillar. I'm sorry, is the backbone of Asar. Actually, it's Ashar. Why? Because the ancient Egyptians spoke a quote unquote Afro-Asiatic language. So there are certain words that are also, what they call falsely called Hebrew, right? So during from quote unquote North Africa on down, whatever, to Ethiopia, to Egypt, whatever, they spoke all the Saudi Arabia. They all spoke the quote unquote modern term Afro-Asiatic language. It's a linguistic branch, right? And you have various people. So,
but did you hear my question though? I'm asking you about the correlation with Moses and the Jed. That's what I'm asking. Want me to ask the question over?
No, I'll answer you just real quick.
Go ahead.
The staff of Moses is to demonstrate or to show, and the Jed of Osiris is his spinal column. So no, there's no equivalent.
All right, brother Jabari.
I'm going to keep this really simple. Moses did not exist, so how could his staff relate to Asar? Moses did not exist. Moses is a mythological figure. By the way, so is Asar. Asar is a mythological figure as well. But I think that sometimes people think that I'm trying to say something about their tradition. I let's just be clear that biblical historians struggle to find any argument that Moses, based in the story, must be a historical person. I read you several quotes that say that entire period, from Genesis to the patriarchal period, by the way, one of the chief patriarchs is Moses, is now no longer considered historical. So biblical historians are now saying Moses, not a real person. So that's what I think that we need to understand here.
Can I make a response? A quick response.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
The brother he's not learned in our history. He keeps reading these sources. You guys stay away from that because you're just going to get drowned in the deep water, sir. See, Moses had a brother named Aaron, and the priesthood we had is patrilineal and within descent. And as I pointed out to you, we lasted all the way until Ptolemy VI and Cleopatra in Egypt, where our smaller temple in Egypt was destroyed. And if you want to go by these dates, 71, what was it, AD? It outlasted the temple, or Herod's temple in Jerusalem. I know that it hurts, Jabari. I told you, brother, I'm just different, bro. Right? So he's saying that Moses didn't exist, but we have his descendants. We have secular historians who are attesting to the existence of this patrilineal line of Moses' brother Aaron, all the way on down to an unbroken line, all the way even on down to Kemet itself under the rule of the Ptolemies. Remember, you look it up, Ptolemy VI, who was married to Cleopatra. This is attested to in secular history. The brother is being disingenuous, and Judah Natzarah is here to set the record straight. These dudes are going to have to step up their intellectual game, and denial is not intellectualism. The brother got today, Jabari, You're very smart, brother, eloquent, brother, but brother, you got to step your game up, bro. Denial is not intellectualism. We have proof.
sa.neter, our brother is not making an argument. He's not making an argument. I have no problem with him saying that some people that he might consider Hebrews are present during the Ptolemaic period. I'm not saying that Hebrew people never existed. I'm saying that the descriptions of their origin are mythological. And he is trying to say that the descriptions of their origin are historical, because if you see what they're doing 3,000 years later, that means that what they said they did 4,000 years earlier is factual. He's not making an argument anymore. And I've been saying this now for the last hour. Folks at home, I hope you hear what he's doing. Simply because Jabari is here in 2021 and you can see him. If I say to you that my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was Namer, you can't just believe that because I said it. Because I exist doesn't mean that my lineage that I'm describing is one that is historical. You have to make the case. He's not making the case. He's trying to say to you that the Hebrews come from Sumer in around 4000 BCE because we see them at the earliest date, 300 BCE. He is trying to smash together 3,500 years of history. I don't even know if he understands he's not making an argument anymore. I could let you have the Hebrews building a temple in Kemet during the Ptolemaic period. I wouldn't even if I allowed you to say that, that doesn't support your argument. Why don't you see that? You are stating that because we can see Hebrew people having problems with people who maybe you might call Babylonians at almost the end of the before the Common Era period, then that means that what they say about their origin 4,000 years earlier must be authentic. That is not how history is done. You have to have support for it. I've not argued with you that the Hebrew people may have been present during the Ptolemaic era. I'm not even arguing with you on that. Because the reality is, it is immaterial to your argument. Why don't you see that? Simply because I am sitting here doesn't mean that my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather is Namer. Just because I've said it, now you have to support it. And you have not supported it all night, sir.
Can I respond?
An argument.
This guy's been denying all night. It's just denial. He has come with nothing. I have showed sources. I have shown pictures.
You show sources?
Sir, I know. Don't get triggered, sir. I got you. Listen, this is what's going to happen when Judah's here. You're going to have, you can't be, denial is not going to be a weapon anymore. You can't use that. I took denial away from you. I took it away from you. You can't use that anymore. You're going to have to study my culture.
I like this guy, you know. I do like him. I do like him.
Yeah, I know, sir. Listen, I'm the Messiah, sir. And I'm trying to tell you, I'm your Lord.
He's feisty, but
I'm your, no, sir.
He's not making a historical argument.
Sir, hold on, sir. I didn't interrupt you, sir. You've been getting beat up all night, and it's okay, sir. This is going to continue. To anyone else out there who wants smoke with the Messiah, Judah Nazareth, the Lord. I just proved to you that our records are still intact. And they are a priesthood. You can find this in secular history. For anybody out there that wants to be biased, that's fine. When you get in the ring with me, I'm just going to beat you up. You're going to be in, I'm going to put you in the corner, and you're just going to deny everything that I say. But you're not going to have a counter argument. You're not going to say, well, actually, because see, actually, this is this. All you heard was, no, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. No, sir, the narrative is being swung to the truth now. Judah Natzarah is here. I come in the name of Yahweh Akkad, okay, the living God. I represent the house of Israel. We have our records are still intact. We are the bloodline people. We are still here. We have prophets that prophesy future things that are occurring right now. Now, you can deny that, sir, but denial, like I said, is just a river in Egypt, sir. You have to use, you're going to come into the spiritual world.
Hold up.
Why does he think a religious argument is a historical argument? Now he's talking about prophecy. Why is this? Listen, take that to your gathering on Saturday. This is HOK. This is sa.neter TV Studios. We're not playing with you. You are
Hold on, everybody, hold on. Because we want to get to the question and answers and get the call-ins.
Folks,
and I still got questions. I got questions hold on, Jabari. I got questions I ain't even asked. I might not even be able to ask all these questions because people want to call in. People want to call in. So let me ask this question to Judah. If the Hebrew, Judah, listen, brother. If the Hebrew Israelite, is this the one? Yeah. If the Hebrew Israelite nation existed, can it be safely said that the culture was influenced by Kemet, including the name and the worship of the God Yahweh?
Absolutely not. See, they try to use this argument and say that the word Yahweh was in ancient Kemet, but none of these guys can speak the language. Like I said, it's part of the Afro-Asiatic linguistic branch. Second, sir, don't have to shake your head, sir. You're getting clapped. Second point, when you're talking about coming from, our nation is surrounded upon the priesthood, the Levitical priesthood. So again, you would have to bring this back to Kemet's priesthood versus Israel's priesthood, and you would have to show and prove and demonstrate. And this is what I was trying to get Jabari on, but he wants to talk about Nebuchadnezzar or Michael Jackson. Sir, you would have to show the derivation of Israelite priesthood descending from or deriving from the Kemetic priesthood, which there were like many different priesthoods in Kemet for their various provinces or what they call nomes and whatnot, right? So absolutely not. I'm gonna say it again, sir. I know. See this. I'm gonna come here. I gotta represent Kemet correctly. They believed in their neters and their gods. They had priesthoods. They offered food and drink to their gods. This neo-Greco atheism stuff, that's folly. They didn't believe that. They really believed in their so-called gods. They had priesthoods. They had when Akhenaten came and changed it to Aten, the various priests were angry at him and they tried to erase his memory from Kemet. See, you can't. I know Kemet too because I was in that, but I realized that wasn't who I was. And that there's no substance behind that because the worship of Kemet is worship of nature. And that's okay. Everybody does that. In Japan, they have gods of water, gods of the sun, god of the moon. And in Canaan, same thing. They're just a replica of ancient Egyptian worship. So the answer is absolutely not. We worship the great spirit, the creator, Yahweh God, and Kemet worship a multiplicity gods representative of nature. But you cannot try to theorize and say, "Oh, they were atheists." That is absolutely untrue. The Pharaoh was the god of gods in Kemet. You can't. There's no denying that. Pharaoh was the god of gods in Kemet. He was supposed to be the son of what is it? Atum. Right? He was the son. Right? So it says that Pharaoh gulps up all the gods, Baals and Kas. He gulps them down. And that's why they had the ceremonies to get to the realm of the, what do you call it? The sky, remember, this is a bunch of sky daddy gods in Kemet. So Pharaoh was believed to have died and went to somewhere in the sky. Did you say that there was a bunch of sky daddy gods in Kemet, Judah? Yes, they worship. Yes, if you look up the Temple of Karnak, you will notice they have the moon god. I forgot his name. Khonsu. They had their little temple over there. They had a temple of Osiris. They had this, and these were all representative of aspects of nature. They were like everybody else in the world. They just represented, they thought that these various gods produced, fertility and things, whatever. So they worshipped like nature and like the genital areas of the body. It's the same old worship is found all through the world. It is not unique. All right, Brother Jabari, we're gonna let you hit this, and then we're gonna move on. So we can hurry up.
I really just have to say that it's tiring. I don't even know why he thinks that he should talk to us about Kemetic spirituality. I wouldn't try to talk to him about what a priest in his tradition is. I want to hear from him. And so to some degree, this is a fallacious path that he's on. I don't even know if I want to even follow him on it because it's just ridiculous. But I know that he says that Kemet has sky daddy gods. And I just want to show him something really quickly, and then I'm not going to go on as long as he did. sa.neter, I think that if you look at this image, you would acknowledge that this is an image of one of the chief deities of Kemet. Right?
Yes.
Right? How do you recognize Asar? Why do you recognize him?
You recognize him through the crown, of course.
Oh, through the crown.
Yes.
Okay. Who's this?
That's also a saw.
No, this is El.
Oh, that's El.
You know the El that's in Israel? The El that the Canaanites took from
Say that again, Jabari. Hold up, man. Hold up. Say that again.
If we got Sky Daddy gods, you got Sky Baby gods. Because all you've done is attempted to pillage and plagiarize and then hide your source. The reality is that your form, your tradition comes from Kemet. And you have a poor copy of it. You know what happens, sa.neter? You and I are, in fact, even Judah is of this age. You remember when you were in school and you probably went to a poor black school like I did, and they would make copies and copies and copies. After a while, you would look at the exam and you couldn't even read it anymore because it had been copied too many times.
Yes.
That is the tradition that this brother finds himself in. Well, I am here to be a testament of the original tradition. That's who I am. And I know that hurts. But that's the truth. Your deity is an imitation of Asar. That's what you're seeing.
Damn.
If I could drop a mic, I would. If I could drop a mic, I would.
All right, man. We're gonna move forward, man. Question for you, Jabari. Some have labeled Akhenaten come on, not now, Apostle. Some have labeled Akhenaten the monotheistic worshiper of God. It can even be argued that he turned traditional Kemetic polytheism and structured on the heirs of the reign. In Kemet, question for you, Jabari. In Kemet, is there truly an actuality worshiper of God? And was Akhenaten, in fact, monotheistic?
I think this is an interesting question that we continue to hear. I have heard for many years that perhaps Akhenaten is the world's first monotheist. First, let me say to you,
I heard that too. I heard they hated him for that.
Let me say to you, sa.neter, that the concept of monotheism versus polytheism is a game that was created by Christians to try to describe their tradition as being primary to others. Because as soon as they tell you that their tradition is monotheistic, then they they turn around and they give you a story about a Father, a Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I think that what you have to recognize is that their tradition is in some ways very similar. They would like to actually try to say that what they are doing is monotheism, but there's so many archetypes of polytheism in it. Why? Because they got it from Kemet. And if they try to speak ill of Kemet by calling it polytheistic, then they're only doing that on their own tradition. That's what they're doing, in fact. And so I want to be really clear that when you see these two dudes and a bird, you're seeing the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit. If this is not polytheism, then what is polytheism? Let's be clear. The Kemetic people believed that the creator of the universe was singular, but that as the creator differentiated all those things that exist in our universe, those powers that are the residual effect of the divine are given names. And so you have a name for example, nurturing. Maybe you can say that that's Ast or Aset. You have a name for righteous war. Maybe you would say that's Heru Kuhuti. You have a name for wisdom. That's Jehuti. But you have to understand that all of those are just descriptions of an aspect of one divine being. So I would not say that Akhenaten is the world's first monotheist. I think that, but I want to be clear that this concept of monotheism and polytheism is something that the people who study Abrahamic traditions created so they could try to put their tradition on top. We see the same thing, by the way, in Islam, where they say that that actually you'll see 99 names of Allah. They've done something that looks very polytheistic, but if you call it polytheism, you're in trouble. And so let's be really clear that this whole dichotomy is one that is fallacious.
All right, Judah. No, we're gonna move on because this question is for you. This
I'm
question,
sorry,
yes, go ahead.
Just please.
No,
just
that was for Jabari specifically. This one is for you specifically. But you want to answer that? You want to answer it?
Yes, I was just saying again, this is why, okay, Jabari, you're being disingenuous again. And I just want to share my screen just for 1 second, just a quick little thing. He is trying to insinuate now that we get our priesthood from Kemet. And he said that, the brother's been getting beat up all night. And I hope he does come back better, stronger, because he begin to realize who he's dealing with now. As you can see here is the temple, a diagram of the temple of Karnak. You can find it's still standing. They have no roofs. But you see there's a temple to Mut or Mut, to temple of Khonsu, the moon god, and there's even a Muslim mosque and these things, right? Now I just want to get to this real quick. Watch this. Excuse me?
You're incorrect.
Okay. All right. We'll handle that.
What is he incorrect of, Jabari?
Incorrect with a lot of things. I was just there last week.
Okay, hold on. Just bear with me.
You're talking about something you didn't know about.
Sir, denial is not intellectualism. As you can see here, this is our temple structure and pattern given in the Torah. And as you can see, our temple represents our nation, our people, not the worship of the sun or worship of the moon or worship of the heavenly bodies, which was given to what they call Gentiles. Let me just pull this up real quick. Just want to answer real quick. You will see this what I was saying about the brother's being disingenuous, and that's why he's getting beat up tonight. If you can see here, let me try to get rid of this. You will see here the East Temple of Ramesses II, an obelisk temple, the Sacred Lake, Temple of Khonsu, the moon god, pylon. Wait, I'm sorry. Okay, let me get rid of this foolishness. Sethos, the Sphinx of the Avenue, Pylon 3, Pylon 4, Temple of Amun, the Hells of Thutmose, the Temple of Ptah, the Temple. Bro, this is not the same thing as our temple. The brother just told another fib. Let me explain this too. See, our temple represents us as individuals and us as a nation. See, in their temples, they were worshiping their pharaohs and the sun and the moon and whatever sky daddies that they had. Now, if he is a priest, he should be able to break all of this down as it pertains to the self, as I can do because I'm an Israelite priest, right? He cannot do this. So I just wanted to answer that question. The brother's being disingenuous again. This is why I'm so dangerous over here, because denial is not intellect.
All right. Last question.
Did you hear me say that the Kemetic temples and the Hebrew temples are the same?
No. I ain't
Why
heard
didn't
that at
you
all.
argue like I did? I didn't say that.
Because you said that our God comes from Osiris, who was a later added god, or so-called netter god of Egypt. The Atum was the first. Sir, please stop, sir. I know Kemet, sir. Stop, sir. Atum was the first. Osiris was a child, okay, who in the story married his sister. El is Osiris, as you said. We began to adopt Canaanite Egyptian customs as our story relates. This is why the Most High punished us. You cannot say that that it is originally is called, El is generic for any god. When you read in the Torah, it says they follow after the Alahayim of others. Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this question, Judah. Judah, this is for you. This one is for you, brother. Oh shit! What the hell? My damn mouse froze up on me. The hell? Oh man, my mouse done froze up on me, man. But I'm gonna ask you this question. The Bible from the Torah to Revelation speaks of one Almighty God, but there is mention of several angels and spirits with power as well. The question is, how does the Israelites worship system, which has one powerful God with lesser gods, with powerful differ from African spirituality, which reflects the same? Talk to us about that.
Okay, you have the Almighty Yahweh, who is the mind of minds of creation. He is not a God with a form or a limitation, but you have his, according, let's say his thoughts, which in the word means melek, which means messenger or message. So the angels are they do his bidding, and you have a degree system of even angels. Like you have the angel Michael, who is a supreme angel over all the angels. You have other angels that Gabriel, and they do all this. So, again, for the African thing. Well, I mean, it's the same thing in Japan. They have a sun goddess, and then they have a bunch of lesser deities under. But we don't worship the angels. The angels are just a higher class of where we are. Man actually is a lower earthborn or terrestrial form of the what they call the what's the word I'm looking for?
What is the word you're looking for?
It's a celestial. Looking for the celestial beings called angels. So see, Jabari has no conception of the Most High. He doesn't know how to find them. He can't describe him. He doesn't know what he is. But one day, hopefully in the future, I will learn him, and we will bring him out of that Christianity that he's in, and bring him into the truth, and he will understand the Most High Yahweh and how he works, and understand who he is and how he manifests through knowledge, wisdom, and understanding.
Dude,
and I applaud Jabari. You did a great job. You did a great job.
You are nothing but a child in your
brother. I get it. You're triggered. I know. Listen, brother. I told you.
You have described this,
brother. You don't have to cut me off, brother. I get it. You had time. You had a lot of time to deny everything I said with no proof, sir. Listen, sir. I know I triggered you, bro. I know this is what I do. I get it. You're mad. I'm not mad. Look, I'm smiling. You are mad, sir, and it's okay. You should be, sir. I just beat up Kemet and had to teach you about Kemet.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm an Israelite priest, and I'm one of the top, and I'm going to show you and learn you. Okay. You see this gray beard here? This isn't due to age. This is due to wisdom. Right? Due to wisdom. So you can't run. You can dance all you like, sir, but there'll be no dancing over here, sir. The Israelite Shamaray, we fight. Now, let me answer the question again. Sir, you don't understand who Yahweh is and how to find him. So this is why you were in a quasi-atheistic kind of like mind state where you want to atheist mind everything. But this is not how the cultures of antiquity thought. It's even in the human spirit, which is the mind. That we have like modes, that we have like a fixture in our brain and mind that is due to worship. This is why all people all over the world, most people, there are some atheistic people, but most people believe in some form of like worship, whether it be ancestors or whether it be nature or whether it be the creator of all. But it's in the human spirit to know that there is something greater than himself. That some people just don't know who the creator is. So that's the answer, sir. But you did a great job of denying everything and proving nothing.
So I think that he thinks this is so strange. I don't even understand what he's saying right now. I mean, it's almost like he thinks that he's talking to a priest, right? In fact, you're talking to a high priest. My title is sa.neter and Tepi. And you think that I've said that I'm an atheist. How could I be a priest and be an atheist? And then he's saying that I don't believe that there's something higher than me. You have a lot of misconceptions about my tradition. It would make sense. It would behoove you to ask questions. You have even admitted tonight that your tradition is nothing but a preschooler compared to the antiquity of ancient African traditions. You have admitted this. You said your earliest text is from 200 CE. My earliest text is 3,000 years older than yours. How dare you speak to your grandfather with disrespect? Go home to the because I'm about to get the switch off the tree and show you what the elders do to the children. Thank you.
Sir, you're being disingenuous against. Look, he's frustrated. And I try to tell you, sir, how it is against you, sir. Hey, the force compels you, sir. The force compels you.
Oh my goodness! Now he's using.
Sir, look, he's angry. Sir, calm down, sir. It's okay, sir. Listen, sir. It's okay, sir. I got you.
All right,
I know.
all right. I need everybody to calm down. I want to thank my brother Judah. We're getting ready to get into the question and answer.
Can I say I enjoy this brother? I really do. He's spirited. He says some really crazy things. I don't think he's clear on how to make an argument yet, but I enjoy his spiritedness. I really do. I mean,
want to thank my brother Judah for taking the time to come through. Hey, we got Rob Rack getting ready to come through soon. I gotta see what time.
All you have to do is just. You realize that you are asking a question of two people that are on the show.
Stop. Hold on, Jabari. Have you ever attended a school of higher learning of studying the Bible?
Yes, I have.
Do you have a degree?
I have a master's of divinity. I don't know if you know that.
Okay. I'm a year away from my master's of divinity. Okay, I'm a year away.
Okay.
I completed my BA, Science of Biblical Studies. Okay, I consider myself a biblical scholar. I've been studying the Bible for 45 years. Okay, now this is where I call you an intellectual fibber. I don't want to use the word liar because I might get cut off. So I use the word fibber.
You just
because that's what you've been doing all night.
You just used
it. You've been doing that all night. First of all, Israel, that's a Greek word. We are Yasharallah. Israel is a Greek word. Okay? And in order for us to worship a statue of El, we would have broke the first, second, and third commandment. We don't worship statues, and we never worshiped a God named El. Okay? Judaizers answered your question correctly about El. Okay? In El of the Anunnaki is El.
Jabari, the wolves are coming out, Jabari.
Yahweh is El. We never worship Yahweh. How do I know that? Because in our ancient language, I can't spell the word. Because there's no E in our ancient language. You cannot spell the word Yahweh. Y'all need to stop lying about who we are as a people. Second, how are you calling yourself a Kemetic priest and you're not even Kemetic? You're not Egyptian. You're not Kemet. How the hell are you a Kemetic priest? How can you do that? You're an African American Negro. What the hell are you calling yourself? Any Kemet priest? What the hell you do? Adopt yourself into their religious beliefs? Or just call yourself a priest? Because see, Yahweh called me to the ministry. You understand? Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah.
Rakata.
So I asked him to ask a question. I think he's going on.
I asked the question.
Hold up. I knew he was going to go long, so I gave him 5 minutes. Jabari, he got one more minute. He got one more minute.
Right.
One more minute.
Right. And then you had the nerve to bring up the curse of Canaan, which has nothing to do with nothing at all. Because it really wasn't even a curse. Okay? It don't mean anything. If you want to know what that is about, go to Leviticus 17, and you'll find out what it is to look upon your father's nakedness. But see, you don't know the scriptures. You think you do, because you used to be a quote-unquote Catholic hellraiser. We know about Catholics and what they done. Miseducated as far as the Bible is concerned.
All right, Apostle. You got your time in. Jabari, you want to respond to him?
Sure.
Yeah, Apostle, please let him respond. Don't cut him off, brother.
I want to keep this a little bit simple.
Yes.
He said that I adopted myself into the Kemetic tradition. And I want to just assert that he's made an argument that doesn't make much sense, because I want him to be clear how he adopted into the tradition that he is in. You are looking at Elmina or St. George's enslavement dungeon. That's what you're looking at. And it's really sad that he doesn't seem to realize that, in fact, the way that he got into the tradition that he's in, even though he is now a Christian in curious clothing, that's what I call most Hebrews, Christian in curious clothing. What he doesn't seem to understand is that in the middle of the slave dungeon, you'll find this. Oh wait, I don't see what you're looking at, Jabari. I don't see what you're looking at, Jabari. Yeah, I know you don't see it yet, but I want you to recognize that when you get to this space, it becomes very clear, very, very clear what you're looking at. This is in the middle of the slave dungeon.
That's how you got your tradition, brother. That's how you.
I don't
got
see
it.
nothing, Jabari. You know that.
Oh, I'm not sharing.
I just want to know what it got to do with being a priest.
Yo, Apostle, I need you to be quiet, brother. Why he's all right? Now we see your screen.
This is where he got his religion from. This is the building in the middle of Elmina slave dungeon.
And so, Jabari, you said that's where he got his religion from?
Yeah, he got his tradition because he was enslaved.
Oh,
and his enslavers
I've never been a slave.
forced Christianity upon him. And in order to feel special in the midst of enslavement, some of our enslaved leaders then said, well, I'm not just an enslaved person. What I actually am is one of the chosen people. And so that was the origin of Black folks beginning to call themselves the Hebrews. Dear brother, I'm really sorry that you still have the chains on your soul, even though the chains on your wrist and your ankles have been removed.
Lord have mercy, brother Jabari. Come on, man. All right, we're going to get to the next caller. We're going to get to the next call.
Hold up, sir. Let me respond. Just a minute. Okay?
Go ahead, brother.
All right, let me respond. Because he don't know nothing about me. Nor do he know anything about my heritage. You know, my mother's father side of the family were slaves. But my mother's side of the family were 100% full-blooded Cherokee Indians. My father's side of the family were from the Iberian coast. My father's ancestry came from, on his father's side, came from Portugal. He was...
You still